Hi guys, Legend of Old 101 here, bringing you another reaction video. This time it's a little bit different. I'm gonna go back to Dragon Ball Z, Majin Buu arc, Gohan, when he was the chosen one. You know, when Gohan was supposed to literally take over the Dragon Ball saga, but it never happened, never to be. And this is the Great Saiyaman arc right now, the one that's being talked about by Mr. Fusion. I think it was given to me by Mela City. She gave me a message and goes, "Hey, I want you to react to. Please, can you react to the Hero We Deserve Gohan?" So I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So that's what we're gonna do today, yo. We'll do a reaction video for the Hero We Deserve Gohan edition, Majin Buu arc. So without further ado, follow me, Twitter and Instagram, main two places you're gonna find me. But I'm always on Twitter. If you know me, I'm always on Twitter all the time. I'm really on Instagram, but I'm also on Twitter. And also remember to thumbs this video up, yo. Share the video, subscribe to the channel, become part of the legacy, become part of the movement, and press that notification bell, set it to all, so I'm in your inbox all day, every day. Remember to put no comments in the comment section down below. So we're gonna get into this show. Let's do it. Let's go. Alright. Let's do this.
Year was 1993. Japan was in the 5th year of the Heisei era. Bill Clinton had become the 42nd US president. Mortal Kombat was peaking a moral panic over video games. Kyoryu Sentai Judanger had come to an end in January, paving the way for the premiere of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers years later that year. And that May, Dragon Ball began its final storyline, although it would not conclude for another 2 years. Whether its author, Toriyama Akira, knew at the time it would be the final story is unclear. Probably not. However, given the return to its roots trappings evident in elements such as its humor and magic, perhaps it was inevitable, or at the very least fitting. Perhaps it was the editorial shift from Kondo Yu, determined to make the series more popular, to Fuyuta Takeda, described by Toriyama as a more lenient editor, that allowed Toriyama the latitude to make so many sweeping changes. For all of us, it's been 8 years of Dragon Ball dissection. All the scores have been given out except for one, so you know how this is going to end. But what you probably don't know is how we're going to get there, and I have no idea how long it's going to take. So pick up your scalpels, hold tight to your forceps, and join me as we dissect the Majin Buu arc. When I covered the Saiyan arc, both in its original form and its animated adaptation, I discussed the unavoidable elephant in the room, the fact that the latter example used that story arc as its jumping off point to launch a new series. And while ultimately that decision sprang from the timing of the hiring of the man who had proposed that decision, as opposed to any narrative concerns, there are legitimate arguments that can be made that that point in the story fortuitously provided the best cutoff point if such a decision had to be made. Outside of the Saiyan arc, however, I often see the Majin Buu...
Oh, why is that annoying me? The Saiyan arc. That sounds so great to my soul. Spelling wise, you don't say the Saiyan arc, it just sounds weird.
Arc touted as a similarly well-suited candidate for another such break, despite the fact that it was not treated as such. Here in the manga, it continued to be, like everything else, part of Dragon Ball. And when it was adapted for animation, it remained within Dragon Ball Z, albeit with new theme songs. However, the similarities between those 2 points are fairly obvious. The Cell arc closes on a note of finality not seen since the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc. Both of those plots come to an end with nary a hint of future narrative threads being woven. Both the Saiyan arc and the Buu arc open with narration, to get the readers up to speed after a major jump in chronology. Contrast that to the opening of the Cell arc, which leaps into action and continues directly from a cliffhanger in the final pages of the Frieza arc. Both arcs open with the introduction of new characters into major roles, lending those arcs a type of next-generation feel. And just as the 23rd Budokai concluded with Kame Sennin breaking the fourth wall in order to tell us the series would continue, the Buu arc likewise opens with a tiny turtle sage on the title page, assuring us that the series can and will continue with Son Gohan in the lead role. In both instances, the character serves as the author's surrogate, imparting the necessary wisdom and reassurances that the series is in good hands. Unfortunately, in retrospect, such reassurances ring hollow and are indicative of the fact that the surrogate can only share as much knowledge as the author possesses. When the author has no real plan, such predictions for the future are nothing more than guesswork. In his 23rd Budokai appearance, the Toriyama-possessed Muten Roshi's proclamation that the series will continue for just a little bit longer serves as a gross understatement of the way reality actually played out. And in this case,
Bruh, 100.
serves as a gross
194, 519. Wow.
understatement of the way reality actually played out. And in this case, his assurances flat out proved to be false, as Gohan can't and won't lead the series into a new era. Instead, Son Goku will forcefully grab hold of the reins once more to jerk the series back towards the comfortable status quo. But not yet. In fact, the narration that follows hints at such a reasserting of familiar plot beats by insisting that peacetime is nothing but a chance for the lessons of the past to be forgotten once more and the cycles of bad behavior and violence to spring forth anew. For the moment, however, it serves as the launching point for what might have been Gohan's story had Toriyama stayed the course. We are introduced to a 16-year-old Gohan traveling into Satan City, named after the world savior, of course, to start high school only to be interrupted by a bank robbery in progress. He transforms into a Super Saiyan not to utilize its power, but to mask his usual features and save the day unrecognized. In my opinion, it's an inspired move to utilize Gohan in this fashion. The Cell arc established a new world for Dragon Ball, one that was far more mundane and distant from the main characters. However, of perhaps all of the main cast, Gohan is by far the least adapted to live in such a world. Well, except for maybe Piccolo or Vegeta, I guess. Goku's coming-of-age story involved throwing himself into the larger world and learning how to live in it. He was surrounded by friends and rivals near his own age, and while he was the most removed from the wider world, it wasn't so alien to him that he couldn't adapt to it or it to him, even if there were plenty of bumps along the way. But that was a world a bit more receptive to extraordinary feats, and these were feats not up to the extraordinary heights the characters have now reached. Gohan, by contrast, stands alone, without peer. He has spent his entire life in the company of his father's friends, his father's generation. He spent formative chunks of his life isolated by his remote family home, traveling to an alien planet, or literally isolated in the wilderness. Obviously, Goku grew up isolated too, but he made it out well under the age of 16 and, unlike Gohan, lacked any parental authority to keep him from doing whatever he wanted to. As far as we know, Gohan hasn't gotten to explore the world like his father has, so he comes into this story very sheltered. He's the perfect fish-out-of-water character. And unlike his father, who obliviously insists that the world adapt to him, Gohan is keen to fit in the normal world. While he is not identified foiling the bank robbery, his features are, including the fact that he wears an Orange Star High School badge. Good going. And his classmates are already talking about this golden-haired warrior, since even though this is Gohan's first day of school, this isn't the first time he's had to stop crime in Satan City in this manner. Two of his classmates are named Ereza and Schopner because they're in a school. Get it? The third, the girl who'd been trying to track down the golden-haired warrior, is Mr. Satan's daughter. That being the case, she doesn't get a school supply pun name, she instead follows Mr. Satan's naming scheme. Toriyama takes the word devil, which is represented in Japanese as debiru, and flips the sounds around. Then he alters it by extending the first vowel sound out for good measure, resulting in bidiru, or Videl. Videl immediately calls Gohan out on the fact that his clothing matches the description of the golden-haired warrior exactly, although she's convinced by her classmates both that he looks weak and doesn't have golden hair. Privately, though, she recounts the
Wow, I didn't even think about that Videl. I didn't even think about that spelling of Videl, like literally moving the words around.
recordings of the Cell games where the people there could change their hair to gold. Between this and attempting to stalk Gohan on his way home, Videl is quickly becoming the intrepidly nosy Lois Lane to his nerdy and wholesome Clark Kent. Out on the school baseball field, Toriyama is really in his comedic element, as Gohan struggles to blend in with his normal classmates. It's not enough that he fails, but what really sells it are the examples where he legitimately thinks he has succeeded. I would love to have seen more moments like this in the arc. But with Vito breathing down his neck, Gohan realizes that this golden-haired warrior persona is not enough if he's going to keep saving the day. And so he heads to Capsule Corporation. Unfortunately, it's not to talk Bluma out of her newly acquired smoking habit. Primarily, it's so Gohan can request a superhero identity, which she agrees to do. Secondarily, it's to set up the new status quo. Unfortunately, that's handled rather awkwardly as Gohan wanders around the building to bump into relevant characters in this new time frame. Once he has completed that task by introducing the audience to 8-year-old Trunks and domesticated Vegeta, the scene ends. The scene is awkward in not having a natural point to it. For example, Trunks could just as easily and more naturally have been introduced in the next scene, wherein he actually serves a purpose, that of criticizing Gohan's costume. This initial scene also hints at a closeness between Gohan and Trunks that is never really picked up on again. Likewise, Vegeta's disdain of Gohan slacking off of his training is going to be reiterated the next time we see Vegeta, but in a way that advances the story and flows from the scene, rather than simply showing a thing that happens while Gohan kills time. Bluma implements a capsule function into a watch that dresses him in a costume when he activates it. And she even designs the costume, which I never thought looks as bad as everyone else claims it does. But it is certainly a mishmash of conflicting design elements.
I'm gonna lie. I hate the look of Great Saiyaman, but I always use him in the Budokai series. So I love to use Great Saiyaman. Loved it.
After naming himself the Great Saiyaman when put on the spot by bad guys, and then saving the day by throwing a tantrum as they make fun of the name, he quickly becomes the
Great Saiyaman. Oh, stop saying Saya, bro. That is so annoying.
The new talk of Satan City. With this, Dragon Ball fully embraces the superhero genre. Well, at least it does for now. It does go to show how similar a lot of those powers are that a character from an Eastern fantasy martial arts series can effortlessly jump genres with nothing but a new costume and fit in just fine. But as much as Western viewers tend to lump the franchise in with superhero stories, it is a fascinatingly different track for Dragon Ball to take, especially coupled with its more comedic slant. It's certainly not the first time Toriyama has cast a ridiculous crime fighter as a major character in one of his series. While Gohan does possess legitimate powers, his absurdity comes in his predilection for striking goofy poses and belting out speeches about justice. If the Ginyu members were a pastiche of Super Sentai tropes, the Great Saiyaman appears to have been partly influenced by solo Japanese heroes like Ultraman or Kamen Rider. While Yamcha playing baseball doesn't exist in the Dragon Ball manga, this does feel like an extension of the idea of finding different, more practical utility for martial arts prowess. After all, that had been Toriyama's suggestion as well. It's not a direct comparison, as anime Yamcha does it in order to build a career, while Gohan uses it to forge a secret identity. But Gohan has these amazing powers, and he's taking advantage of them to get by in the outside world. However, the idea of superheroes in Dragon Ball does raise what I consider to be a very interesting train of thought. Superheroes typically possess powers far outside the scope of ordinary people. Often it's a very rare person, someone who either experiences something that physically alters them, or is simply born different, or is chosen by someone or something to be the recipient of powers as a gift. Barring such mutations, it's practically impossible for the common folk in superhero stories to become superheroes. Superheroes are inherently special. But Dragon Ball's world doesn't really work that way. Gohan wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider, he doesn't possess a magical artifact that grants him power. He's not enabled to become a superhero because he's an alien. No, it's not because he's an alien. It certainly helps, and it's indispensable towards maintaining his status as the strongest person on Earth. It allows him to do this, and his father's heritage inspires his superhero name. But possessing super strength, the ability to fly, to catch bullets in his hands, no, none of those come from him being an alien or in any way physiologically different from anybody else. That's not how this series works. Everybody has this potential. Gohan can do what he does because he's been trained in the path of the martial artist. And that's not even me forcing the perspective of early Dragon Ball into the new mundane world firmly established by the Cell arc. Gohan tells Videl exactly that everyone has Ki when he trains her just a few chapters from now. It's not that he discovers some mutation in her she never knew she had and brings it to the surface. the offspring of the very paradigm of a normal person, can learn to fly with ease. I'm sure there are probably some Silver Age shenanigans out there, but it seems unlikely to me that Superman could simply teach Lois Lane to fly, not without some outside plot MacGuffin to act as a catalyst. Even before he trains her, the Great Saiyaman is able to locate Videl by sensing out the key she is already...
Videl was tight, especially in the movies. We don't see those movies. Dragon Ball Z movies. Videl's tight.
Already naturally using. And that he can do this is not in any way a shock to him either. So there is nothing innately special about Gohan that allows him to be a superhero. It's no more, and no less, than his exceptional application of those universal gifts that allows him to become Satan City's new champion. I suppose in that way he adheres closer to Batman or Iron Man than a Superman or a Spider-Man. More importantly, it defines Gohan as a character. He's a superhero because he chooses to be. He wants to live a normal life, but he can't keep himself from helping others. It's more telling of who he is than what he can do. And perhaps if this story arc has any consistent through line, it's the idea that anybody can choose to be a hero. Even the most naturally gifted prodigies won't measure up if they don't commit to that choice. But I suppose that's enough navel-gazing for what is ostensibly a comedy portion of the story. Gohan fully embraces his superhero persona. It even allows him to get to school more quickly. Sorry, Kintone, you were back in the limelight ever so briefly. I really do like the Great Saiyaman. The persona fully realizes the idea that Gohan has come into his own character, as opposed to simply existing as the kid prodigy character. Quite honestly, I think it would have made much more sense if Gohan was the one to have designed the Great Saiyaman costume instead of Bluma. She seems too chic to design something like this, but it seems right up teenage Gohan's alley to be so far off as to what everyone else considers cool. The whole thing is nerdy and flamboyant. It's Toriyama understanding that utilizing Gohan as the lead character not only has to, but should, require a very different Dragon Ball than the Dragon Ball helmed for so long by Son Goku. Gohan quickly runs into a problem, though, when Videl receives a call on her wristwatch and dashes off to fight crime on her own. Quite frankly, while I can understand his lack of faith given his experiences with Mr. Satan, Gohan's insistence on ditching class to save her comes off as more than a little arrogant. She has a direct hotline to the police. They requested her. And it's apparently so mundane an occurrence that neither her teacher nor her friends see anything of concern with it. Clearly she does this all the time. The story presents Videl as far more of an established crime fighter than Gohan ever becomes, perhaps best illustrated by his leaping to the rescue only to realize he has no idea where he's going. The Great Saiyaman saving her from a bullet comes across as less of Videl getting in over her head than it does giving Gohan a justification to serve a function in his own story. Demonstrating exact...
Videl was a boss. Early Videl was a boss, bro. Gohan Videl story could have went so far. It's never happened. Akira Toriyama never pushed it to that level it should have been at. Gohan, the natural successor. Well, yeah.
Exactly how far this section of Dragon Ball is pushing into comedy, Gohan ends the chapter on a cliffhanger by stating to the criminals that he will reveal who he is in the next chapter. However, his breaking of the fourth wall contains a double meaning, as in that next chapter, Videl immediately figures out this is Gohan and tricks him into revealing who he is. After that, she uses that information to blackmail him into entering the Tenkaichi Budokai. Well, I hope you liked that little foray into Gohan's life as a superhero high school student. The story spends 3 weeks setting up a fresh premise, only to play the whole thing out within 2 weeks before shifting gears entirely. But a more consistent theme of the Majin Buu arc is that it so frequently and jarringly shifts gears, you wonder how it hasn't shredded its own transmission yet.
Yes, that's part 1, guys. The hero, we deserve the Majin Buu arc. So, looks like, you know what, yeah, I'm going to finish off. I'm going to do part 2 at some point. But yeah, part 1 is finished, guys. Remember to follow me, Twitter, Instagram, thumbs this video up, yo, share the video, subscribe to the channel, press that notification bell, put the comments in the comment section down below. Yeah, I've been working all day today. My eyes are literally closing. This is late night right now. It is literally early morning. Trying to pump these videos out as much as I can in between work and just try and do other stuff at the same time. It's tough, but I did it for you guys. I did it for the fans. I did it for the people, you know. So yeah, wherever you are day or night, stay safe out here in these streets. It's the Legend of All 101 signing out. Peace.